Good morning, everyone. I'm your lecturer for the day, Mr. Richard Cortez, for the subject Business Ethics. And today, for our lesson number 4, we will talk about employee and consumer relations. Before that, we have a background about the topic. Employee relations involve the body of work concerned with maintaining employer-employee relationship that contribute to satisfactory productivity, motivation, and morale of the employees in an organization. And also talks about, it is concerned with preventing and resolving problems involving individuals which arise out of or affect a work situations in one company. Another objective is to know the legal responsibilities of the business to employees. The third objective is to know the ethical responsibilities of the employers, and the fourth objective is to know the best practices of employers, and the fifth objective is to know consumer issues arising in a business situation, and the last objective is to know consumer legal issues. The next objective of the topic is to know the best practices of employers, and another objective is to know the consumer issues, and the last objective is to know the consumer legal issues of the business. For this topic, we have several frequently asked questions by the students like you. For example, you will always want to know, number one, what is the importance of good employee relations on the part of the employer? And another question is, what is the importance of good customer relations? Those two questions I know that you want to answer those questions, and after we are done with the lesson, you will be able to know the answers for those questions. Objective, or we call this the learning outcomes after the lesson. After completing this lesson, you should be able to know or to do the following. Example, you should be able to define what is employee and consumer relations. After the lesson, you should be able to list down the basic consumer rights. You should be able to apply good customer skills, and you should be able to develop a comprehensive plan for customer relation management. You should be able to write down the responsibilities to consumers of the business. And the last learning outcome is you should be able to enumerate the legal, economic issues pertaining to consumers' rights or responsibilities to consumers. Now, and as we go on, we will do several activities. For example, you should read the textbook assigned, and another one is you should be able to discuss a case study with the teacher along with other students. We have an open forum to be done, and we will discuss some cases that are related to our topic for the day about employee and customer relations. And after we are done with the topic, I will give you a test. We call that the enumeration test. That is not long. I will give you about 10 items, and you should be able to answer that quiz. That is based on our topic for the lesson. About consumer and customer relation. And for our topic today, for the subject business ethics, we have three major lesson agenda. We divided the topic into 3 lessons. The first agenda is that is about employee relations. The second agenda is about the best practices of employers, and the third agenda is consumer relations. So we will talk about those 3 topics along the way. Those are very exciting, important, and interesting topic for you about how do you handle employee, how do you handle consumer, and what are those good practices that you can copy and you can imitate to be be done to your employers and to your employees and to your customers. And now, for the first agenda entitled Employee Relations, we have the first subtopic. We call that the employer-employee contract. So we define that as a contract that includes belief, perception, expectations, obligations that constitute an agreement between individuals and their organizations. So the employer and the employee, they have a contract that pertains to of course, to the employment, the belief, the perception. What are the specific jobs of the employee to be rendered to a certain organization. So the employee contract contains several agreements to be done while the employee is working for the employer. So it contains the obligations of the employee towards the employer, and also the obligations of the employer towards the employee. So that's contracts mutual. It talks about what should be done by the employee, and it talks about what should be done by the employer. And another one is that contract is an informal contract, a significant impact on an employee's action. For example, it is written in the employee contract that if an employee violates a certain rule or law of the company or of an organization, so he should know the implication of his action. So it is written there what are the remedy of an employer when an employee violated a certain provisions or law of the organizations or the employer. And another one is the employer-employee contract. When promises or expectations are not met, there is an enormous breach of trust resulting in less loyalty. So the contract means that is an agreement, a mutual agreement between the employer and the employee. So it means that if you sign the contract, it means the employer trusts the employee, and it means that the employee will become at least somehow loyal to the employer. So it is written in the contract that if a trust is breached, something will be, or there is a remedy to be given to the employee who suffered or who violated the contract or the provisions of the contract in the employer and employee agreement. So that is not only a document that it is a mutual document that covers the relationship between the employer and the contract. So before you sign a contract, you should always read very carefully the content of the contract before signing so that you know what are your obligations towards the employer. And now, still under the subtopic employer-employee contract, we talk about the psychological contract between the employer and the employee. So it is the belief or perception, expectations, and obligations that make up the agreement between individuals and the organization that employ them. Okay, so the written contract is physical, but we also have what we call the psychological contract. It means that there is a meeting of the mind between the employer and the employee. So psychological contract is since that is unwritten, that is largely unwritten. It means that the employer will agree or will employ a person out of principle. He agrees, or it is implied. He assumes, or the employer assumes, that if it employs a certain employee, it is a given that the employee will give all her or his loyalty to the employer, even without a professional employee, a professional applicant should always do those things. Even though without the contract, it is a given that you should act professionally if you are hired by your employer. And psychological contract it details the contract developed through interactions with managers and co-workers and through perception of the corporate culture. So if you are employed by the company,
it means that it is a given or it is assumed that you will follow all the rules, regulation, your obligations. You should follow, you should adhere to the corporate culture of the organizations that you belong. Even though you don't have the contract to follow the corporate culture, it is a given that you should always follow if you are hired by a certain company. So it means that corporate culture, even though they are not written, it is you should always adhere or abide. You should always be guided by the corporate culture of the company.
And still, with employer-employee contract subtopic, we talk about the workforce reduction. So there are times that companies cut job to be able to do cost cutting or to combine several works. So workforce reduction is a process of eliminating employment positions. So there are times that there are jobs that are redundant, there are jobs that are not needed anymore. So sometimes the employer will cut or eliminate employment or eliminate employee. And reduction is also, it can also involve reducing the number of employees. Or sometimes the company can simplify a certain job. Before it was using 3 employees doing the same job, but workforce reduction can simplify. It means that only 1 person can do the job the 3 persons before. Because of technology, we can now do some of those works very easily. So instead of 3, we can now simplify that by using only 1 person. And workforce reduction, it makes the private relationship between employer and employee in public issue that creates concern, criticism, and economic effects on the person, the individual. So workforce reduction is not, if you are the employer and you have to simplify jobs, you have to cut work or you have to reduce work, it means that it has economic implication on the part of the employee. So reducing job, it means the employee will no longer work or the employee will now become unemployed. So you should act always with very responsibly or with ethics when you are going to cut or to reduce the work. So don't just cut the work or reduce job right away. You should always know the implication of reducing your workforce. Now, we have the key considerations in workforce reduction. As I said earlier, you should always think of the implication of workforce reduction. So here are some of the things to be considered when you are going to reduce the workforce of the company. Number 1, a comprehensive plan must be developed that takes into account the financial implication. So guys, take note, you are the employer and you are going to cut or reduce work. So you should think of a plan. You should develop a plan. What will happen to the employee who will become unemployed later on? Example, that the employee is working for you for 10 years and he will become unemployed. So it means that he will no longer receive his salary. So the company should make a detailed plan, a very beneficial, a mutual plan between the employer and the employee, so that when time comes that that employee will be eliminated or he will no longer work, he will not suffer very much when it comes to financial consideration. So at least you can give a good amount of money for a person who stay in the company for long term. Okay. And another one to be considered is in workforce reduction, the organization should commit to assist employees who must make a career transition. So after the employees will be removed from the company, he will transfer to another job. Okay, so the company should always give the assistance, the support for a person who wants to transfer to another company or another career. It means that the company should provide all the documents needed by the employee. Example, if the employee wants to have a certificate of employment, that the company should always give that employment for the person. He should always, if the next company will do a background check on the status of the person in the company. So the old company should always give a proper background for that employee. And the last thing to be considered is companies must accept the consequence of terminating employee. So if you terminated an employee, you should know what will happen to the employee and what will happen to the company. For the company, you should know that if a person will be eliminated from the company, it will train another person. So some of the aspect of the previous job will suffer because the employee is no longer employed by the company. On the part of the employee, the company should also know the consequence of what will happen to the person being unemployed. So it means that he will no longer work. He does not have a job anymore. He doesn't have the salary anymore. So we should look at those consequences. So employment at will. This common law doctrine allows the employer or employee to terminate the relationship. So we have here a setup wherein sometimes if you are employed or you want to be employed in a business, you can have an agreement with your employee, or if you want to terminate right away the contract, so it can be done. That's what we call employment at will. Another one is the many states still use the employment at will philosophy, but laws and statutes may limit total discretion. So it is no longer popular today. So when it comes to wages and benefit, for example, the Fair Labor Standards Acts of several, some companies are following the Fair Labor Standards. So we always follow the rules, the law given by the government. Example for how much is the minimum salary wage to be given to the employee. So we should follow, or your company should follow the rules or the law. And about wage and benefit, sometimes your company should also have employee benefit plan for the person retiring from your company. So to be socially responsible or to be an ethical company, you can have a good retirement plan for all those people who will be retiring, so that during their retirement years, at least they will have something to use for their personal expenses. Since they are no longer working, at least they still have some amount of money with them after retirement. So still in the legal responsibilities to the employees, sometimes the company can allow to have their employees establish or join a labor union. So labor union is important for the employee. That is the way or one way of voicing out their complaints, grievances to the companies to establish a labor union. So the company should recognize a labor union established in one company. And for the health and safety of the employee, the company should also have a good health and safety standard or program to be given to the employee. Example, they should have a health benefit. They should always be covered by insurance or health insurance. They should always be given hospitalization, or example, a medical card or health card to be given to the employee, so that they can use that during their time of sickness. So they should have sickness benefit from that card. And another part of health and safety is recent rules require organizations to be concerned with ergonomics. It means that the design, arrangement, and use of equipment to maximize productivity. For example, your company is involved in production. Safety is very important when it comes to production. See to it that the employees are always safe while doing their job in the production line. That is the responsibility of the employer for the safety and health. So employees there should be an absence of health hazards within the premises of the production line of the company. So another responsibility of the employer to the employee is the equal opportunity employment. So all people or all applicants should have equal rights. There should not be a discrimination of gender, age, sex, race or religion, so color, all people should be free to apply. So all people, regardless of their social orientation, should have the equal rights to be hired by the company, and that should be a responsibility to be done by the employer. And sexual harassment, that is very unwelcome in company premises. So it is the responsibility of the employer to see to it that there is an absence of sexual harassment. Nobody should be sexually harassed by the co-employers, by the superiors, whether the superior is male or female. To have a very good working condition, there should be an absence of sexual harassment within the company. So we have another subtopic that is the ethical responsibilities to employees of the employer. The company has the responsibility to train and develop all the employees within the organization. So employees have a need to grow. So the employees should grow with the company so the company should provide training, development, professional growth training, professional personality development training, career orientation training. So it's very important for the employee to have a training. They don't always need money. Sometimes they need a career growth within the organization. So the company should sometimes provide, send them in seminars, send them in conference abroad, send them in continuing professional education for them to be developed and for them to have a good career later on. And another one is diversity. Diversity is embracing the unique skills and contributions of all types of people. In one organization, it is good if the organization has different kind of people, different kinds of personality, coming from all walks of life, coming from all social background, so that they can contribute. It is good if the company has several nationality working for the company, so that the company can benefit. It can have different suggestions coming from different kinds of people. So that is very important, and that should be one responsibility of the employer towards the employee. So still ethical responsibilities the employees. The company or the employer should allow for work-life balance. It means assisting the employees in balancing work responsibilities. So the employee is not always working. So sometimes he needs or she needs a personal improvement, or he has a separate life. She has a separate personal life. So the employer should not always think of the employee working always all the time for the company. Sometimes by providing example gym or exercise for the employees, sometimes they can go out to refresh or to relieve stress. Sometimes they should be allowed sometimes 1 week in 1 year to go out with all the other employees to recharge, to refresh, so that they are not always working for the company. They are going outside to have some quality time with all the other employees within the company. And another one is work-life balance provides flexibility for the employees. Example, there should be flexi time. If the company can afford, employees can be allowed to have a flexi time within the company. Employees can be allowed to have a job sharing, so that the work is not boring. Sometimes he can slide down to another job. And another one is a child care within the company. The children of all the employees should be taken good care of by the company. And another one is the elder care and health lab. So health lab, I want, that is my personal favorite health lab. So if you are the employer, you should provide health club benefit for all the employees, so that they can always have time to recharge. That should be free. That is the time that they can recharge, rest, relieve their stress that are related to the job in the company. Now we are now in the second agenda. We call this the the best practices of employers. So employers have philanthropic activities. If the company is very profitable already, or it is staying in the industry for a long time, that is the time that the company should do philanthropic activities. So that is the corporate giving affects employee attitudes towards the organization, or philanthropic activities can be done. Employees benefit from participating in volunteerism. So sometimes the employees can be asked or can be allowed to do volunteer work in behalf of the company to be rendered to the society or community where the company belongs. That is philanthropic activities. And what does the benefit of employees involving in volunteerism? One is it builds teamwork. If the employees are allowed, or if the employees are working hand in hand doing volunteer work, their team building skills will be built. Another one is volunteerism educates the employees about the benefit, or about the beauty of involving in community service and social and civic work. So they will feel that they do something good for the community, and they will be educated at what are the goings on or in the community surrounding the company. And here we have one example of a good volunteerism work. For example, more than 30,000 volunteers support the Ronald McDonald House charities, donating 1 million hours of service per year. So it is a volunteerism work by the employees of McDonald's. So in 1 year, they do 1 million hours of volunteerism work to be done, to be rendered to a certain or for an unidentified community within the premises of the company. So it means that, wow, all employees are doing their share in doing volunteerism work. So all companies, I guess, should always do philanthropic activities. So philanthropic activities, strong employee initiatives lead to a company being viewed as the employer of choice. So if I am the employee, I want to work in a company where I know that company is doing volunteerism work. I know that the company is very ethical and very socially responsible. I want to work in that company. So that is my employer of choice. So this allows an organization to attract, optimize. It means that if you are involved in volunteerism, your company is involved in volunteerism. That is one way of attracting the best employee to work for the company. It is one way of optimizing and retaining the best employee. So if I know that I am working for a company with a good social responsibility, I want to stay in that job. If the company take good care of the person in the community, I assume that the company will always take good care of me and all the employees within the organization. So we want to work, or all employees they want to work in a company with good philanthropic activities. Example, volunteerism. So here we have, I have a table here. The table is entitled "Not Willing to Work for Certain Employees." What are those reasons why employees they don't want to work in a certain company? Number one, 59% of the respondents, they said that they will not work for a company producing harmful products. So guys, take note. If your company is producing or rendering service that are harmful to the community or to the customers, 59% of the time, or of the graduates, they don't want to work in your company. Okay. And number two example, if the company is paying women or minorities less than their male counterparts, 46% of the time, or 46% of the graduates will not work for your company. Okay? And using lie detector for theft example, if the company will use detector to test whether an employee is lying or not, they don't want that. 40% of the respondents, they don't want that kind of setup. Number four is paying off foreign officials. So means that sometimes even though the consultant is not working too good for the company, and the company pays that official, so some respondent or some graduates, they don't want to work in that company. And lastly, 9% of the respondent or of the graduates, they don't want to work in a company restricting foreign competition. So they want they want to work in a company with free, with open competition. So if the graduates will think that we don't hire foreigners or foreign nationality here in our company, so the graduates, they don't want to work in that company. So 9% of the time, they don't work in that company. So there should be no discrimination. All nationalities should be welcome working for your company. 2.3 reasons why employees stay in a company. So this is the opposite. Why employees they want to stay in one company? We have several reasons. We have 8 reasons why they stay. The first reason is the company image. If the image of the company is good, the employees will stay in that company. And number 2, if the culture of the organization is good, or they can fit to the organization, they want to stay in that company. Okay? If the leaders or CEO of the company are respectful, the employees will want to stay in your company. If the company take good care of the people, health benefit, taking good care of the career of the people, they want to stay. If the company is a program for growth and opportunity, employees want to stay. And meaningful work, compensation, benefits. So take note, number 7, compensation or salary is only number 7. So it is not always the salary that will decide whether an employee will stay or not in a certain company. And of course, number 8, making a difference. If the company is unique, has a unique setup or innovative ways of doing things, employee will stay. Okay, so number 1, firstly, you should have a good company image to attract employees to stay in your company. We are now in the third agenda. We call this consumer relations. Before we talk about the employee, now we talk about the consumer. So the first subtopic under the topic consumer relations is the consumer economic issues. Okay, here, these are individuals, consumers are individuals who purchase, use, and dispose their products for themselves and for their home. So that is what we mean by the consumer. And example, in the 1980s and 1990s, green marketing started, or it was very popular. Until today, consumer wants to stay in to patronize products of the company that are environmentally friendly, or companies that are green. It means taking good care of the environment. Okay, and there is no true consensus around issues such as environmental responsibility, and companies face complex decisions about how to respond to them. So if the company is environmentally friendly or environmentally responsible, the consumer, the customers want to patronize the product. So I want to be involved in a company that produce organic products using no artificial benefit, doing products that do not harm the environment. So I want to be involved in that company. I want to patronize or support that kind of company. So companies should have a green program when producing their products or rendering the service of the company. So we continue with consumer economic issues. Consumers are primary stakeholders because their awareness, purchase, use, and repurchase of products is vital to a company's existence. So take good care of the employees. They are the lifeblood of your company. We should be responsible towards them. They can be considered primary stakeholders. And consumers and business are connected by an economic relationship. If the consumers have money to be used to purchase the products of the company will become profitable. If the company will become profitable, it can produce more products, more quality products to be given to the consumers themselves. And consumers exchange money for goods or services. We are consumers sometimes, so we use our money to buy or to avail of a service of a particular company. And consumers expect the products they purchase to perform as guaranteed by the seller. So, to be a socially responsible company, we always produce products and render service that should be always, the quality should be always high to be given or to be availed of by the consumer. So we should not cheat on the consumers, even though they don't know how do you produce the product. We should always take a guarantee that if a consumer buys a product from us or from your company, they can be assured, they can be guaranteed that they are buying a safe, a quality product or a quality service for them. So still, consumer economic issues, consumer fraud results from intentional deception to derive unfair economic advantage from an organization. Example here, consumers, sometimes they always do fraud or cheating. It is not always the company doing the cheating, but sometimes the consumer. Example of fraud are shoplifting, collusion, duplicity, guile. Example, we take the example of shoplifting. You steal an item from a shop, from a company without paying that. But today, I think shoplifting are now being monitored. Shoplifting are being discouraged today because of the CCTV camera installed in different companies or shop of a business. And buyers or sellers, this agreement can result in fraudulent activities, products not meeting expectation. Sometimes that is a cause of misunderstanding between the seller and the buyer, because example, I am buying a consumer buys a product from the seller, and he discovered that the product is not a very good quality. So there would be misunderstanding on the part between the two of them, and that is not good. That is very unfortunate, because the seller will lose a very good or sometimes a loyal consumer, because the company does not provide a quality as expected by the consumer. And inventory shrinkage is estimated to cost businesses more than 40 billion per year. So sometimes the company can also suffer pilferage. There are employees that do pilferage within the company. So it results from loss of inventory on the part of the business. So sometimes the company should monitor the employees, they are doing cheating, or the customers are doing cheating by shoplifting inside the company. So still under the topic, subtopic consumer economic issues, we have motivations for illegitimate consumer complaints. So what are the causes of those employees? Okay, we have here the motivation. We have the phrase of free loader. It means a consumer attempts to obtain free goods or services by making a fraudulent complaint. Sometimes there are consumers that will just obtain a product, and later on they will return the product if they see that they just tested the product. So they will return those products. And another one is the fraudulent return. Consumer buys product and knows that he or she will attempt to return it for a refund. So on the part of the consumer, sometimes you buy a product and later on you want to return the product after using that for several days for the purpose of getting a refund from the company. So on the part of the consumer, that is fraud. Okay, and we go from the top up to the bottom. We have disruptive gains being done by the consumer. It means a consumer expresses insincere complaints solely to cause disruption. So there are customers that are not in good faith. Sometimes they have the purpose of just causing disruption. They have complaints, but those are not legitimate complaints. They just want to cause problems. Maybe they are planted by the competitors of the business, and they want to disrupt the operation of the business. So as a businessman, you should monitor all those possible things to be done by the customers or consumers of your business. You should be vigilant sometimes to avoid those disruptive behavior by the customers. consumer legal issues, we have the Bureau of Consumer Protection. It works to protect consumer against unfair, deceptive practices. So sometimes consumers are also being protected by the government by establishing agency specifically to protect the consumer, the rights, the safety, the health of the consumer. So companies should be aware that they are being monitored. Example, the Bureau of Food and Drugs in the Philippines, in the country, it protects the employee by making periodic check-up or test of the products of the company, whether the company is producing products that have harmful or toxic chemicals in the product. So that is very important. It is good that the government has this agency monitoring the violations being done or possible violations to be done by the companies. Still in the topic consumer legal issues, we talk about the responsibility of the business to provide warranty sales of the to the consumer. So it is a responsibility, the responsibility that is legal to have to provide warranty or to answer product liability. So the company should always be ready to answer warranty claims by the consumer or to answer liability claims of the consumer. So it is a sign of being socially responsible. So another thing is the health and safety of the consumer should always be considered by the company. So produce a product that is not harmful. Instead, that should be safe, and it should always promote healthy consumption by the consumer or by the customer. Okay, we also have here, let's talk about the marketing, advertising, and packaging. So social responsibility also talks about a good marketing strategy of the company. The company should not resort. It has a legal responsibility not to resort to fraudulent marketing strategy. It should have a good advertising and honest advertising always to be given in relation to the product being sold. And the packaging of the companies to be ethical, to be socially responsible. The package of the company should, example, it should state the expiration date of the product, the chemical contents, the nutritional facts about the product. That is ethical too, so that the consumer may know what is being consumed by writing those or putting in the label or in the package of the product those info or useful information about the maybe the hazard, the health benefit of the products being sold, or sometimes what would be the consequence of rendering a particular service. So those should be told to the consumer. 3.3 talks about the consumer ethical issues. The word consumerism is the movement to protect consumers from imbalance of power with business and to maximize consumer welfare in the marketplace. Consumers are always right. The customers they have always the right. So a consumer movement always protect the employees from those businesses that will take advantage or abusive businesses. By consumers should always be protected. The movement should always focus or should always advocate for a quality product, quality goods and services, healthy and legally responsible, ethically responsible products or services. Consumer ethical issues is still under the subtopic consumer ethical issues. We should know, the company or you should know as a person, as a businessman, the rights of the consumer or customers. They have the rights to choose. There should be several alternatives. They should be spoiled with many lots of product for their benefit. And consumers should have the right to safety. Provide a safe and healthy products for the consumer. There should be absence of hazard for the consumer. Consumers have the right to be informed. So in the package or label of your product, you should know, you should put in or write the benefit, the nutritional benefit, the health hazard, the content, the chemical content, the consequence of consuming a product. So customers have the right to be informed. And another one is they have the right to be heard. Consumers can voice out their complaints. Consumers can have the right to let the businessman to know what are the products that the consumers need. So through market research, you can hear the voice of the consumer. Consumers have the right to seek redress. Example, if the company provided a product that is not too good or a not so quality product, the consumer should have the right, for example, for refund or to exchange their product or goods. Okay, so they should be something of giving a cancellation so that the suffering of the consumer will be lessened. And the last right of the consumer is they have the right to privacy. Okay, if you have a client, for example, you are a company providing a service, and you have a client, you should not divulge the identity of your client that is private. Okay, example, in a bank, you have a client, a very wealthy person depositing his money in your bank. So you should not divulge the identity of all your depositors for of course, obviously, for their safety. And so those are the rights of the consumer to be respected by or to be known by the businessman like you, like us. Consumer ethical issues, the right to choose. Example, the consumer has the right, possible consumers have the opportunity to select from a variety of products or at competitive price. Okay, it is good that if you are the consumer, you can choose among several alternatives so that you can avail of the best alternative. That is the right to choose. And consumer have the right to safety. Example, businesses should have the CCTV camera installed. They have the proper fire exit. There should be sign, no smoking sign, so that the customers inside your company they will feel that they are safe. So you should install, example, all those signs. Consumers have the right to be informed by putting in the right label in the package of the business. You are informing the person, or you are informing the people of what to be expected from a certain product. Consumers have the right to be heard. Don't get angry if the consumers will always tell the media about the complaints about a product he bought from your company, because they have the right to be heard. Okay, so if you hear what are the complaints of the product, that is one way of improving the quality of the product or service of the company. So you always hear the voice of the consumer. Another right of the consumer is they have the right to seek redress. What do we mean by this one? Consumers have the right to express dissatisfaction about the product they bought. Okay, so don't be angry with that customers if she is not satisfied. Sometimes there are customers that are very frank. They will tell you right away if they don't or they like the product. So that is one way of knowing whether the product being sold or whether the product being rendered is satisfactory or not. So you should always want to know the dissatisfaction. If they are satisfied and they want to replace their product, and if the company can afford to replace the product, you should replace the product. Sometimes it is better to replace a product than to lose that certain customer. So sometimes you sacrifice a portion of your profit. Right to privacy. Consumers need to be aware of how personal data are collected and used. Example, you are making market research and you are doing a survey about the needs and wants of the company, of the consumer. So you should know, the customer should feel that the data given to the company doing the research are very confidential. You should not divulge or show the result of a survey or the name of the respondent to a particular person because those data are private, and the identity of the respondents or consumers are very private. Okay guys, we are now in the last portion. We are now going to wrap up the lesson for the past several slides. In this lesson, I hope that you should have learned something. In fact, I'm expecting that you should have learned the following. Example, in this lesson, you should have learned employee relations, how to you interrelate with employees. You should have known the responsibilities to the employees, your responsibility. You should have known employer-employee contract. You should have known issues in employee stakeholders, how to take good care of the stakeholders. You should have known customer relation, how to take good care of the employees or the customers, how to render a good customer service to the customers. You should have known responsibilities to the consumers. You have responsibilities to be done and duties. You should have learned the rights of the consumer. So in the last part of our topic, we enumerated several rights of the consumer. And for that topic, we are now leaving you with that topic. And for our next topic, the next lesson, lesson number 5, we'll talk about community relation for our lesson number 5. We will talk about strategic philanthropy for lesson number 5, and we talk about technology issue for lesson number 5. And up to this point, I want to leave you with lesson number 4. And for the last several minutes, this has been your lecturer for today, Mr. Richard Cortez. And under the next lesson, I hope that we will see you again for lesson number 5. Okay, and see you again, and bye for now.